This is one of the most popular places in Peru, and this is it. These are the Sacsayhuamán walls. And how did they move these stones? This is one of the biggest mysteries surrounding this place. These walls are made of giant stones that were fitted together with millimeter precision, all without any cement or mortar. But the weirdest part about this place is that we don't really know who built it, how they built it, or even what it was used for. The walls are around 400 years old, but we think they might be much older than that. Some researchers believe they were constructed between 1100 and 1470 AD, but others say they could have been built as early as 9000 BC. If that's true, that would mean that someone built these walls before the wheel was invented, before the domestication of animals, and before humans had even learned how to farm. These walls are just one of many mysterious sites in the area. There's also Pumapunku and Tiwanaku. And many archaeologists now believe that these three places were all connected in some way. But just what that connection is has been lost to time. What we do know is that all of these places are incredibly mysterious and raise a lot of questions about humanity's past. Here are the top 3 unanswered questions about Sacsayhuamán and how these massive stones were moved. Number 3, who built these walls? The Inca Empire is often given credit for building the Sacsayhuamán walls, but evidence suggests that may not be the case. The Inca Empire was a powerful force in South America from 1438 to 1533. They ruled over a vast territory that included modern-day Peru, Bolivia, Ecuador, Chile, and Argentina. At their peak, the Inca controlled an empire of 8,000 square miles and had a population of over 8 million people. Their capital city, Cusco, is located just 5 miles from Sacsayhuamán, so it's easy to see why people might assume that the Inca built these walls. But there's no evidence that they did. In fact, some archaeologists believe that the Inca didn't build anything at Sacsayhuamán at all. Instead, they may have simply restored some of the walls and added their own touches to make them look more like a traditional Inca structure. One of the main pieces of evidence against the Inca is the fact that the stones are so precisely cut. The Inca were known for their incredible stonework, but they typically used much smaller stones that were more easily worked with. The massive stones found at Sacsayhuamán are unlike anything else the Inca built. Another piece of evidence that suggests the Inca were not the builders is the fact that they left the site shortly after the Spanish arrived in Peru. No one knows exactly why they abandoned their capital city, but it's possible that the Spanish were simply too powerful to resist. If the Inca were forced to flee their homes, it's unlikely that they would have had time to finish a project as massive as Sacsayhuamán. Instead, the builders may have been an even more ancient civilization that predates the Inca by thousands of years. We don't know much about this civilization, but some researchers believe that it was responsible for several other megalithic sites in South America, such as Pumapunku. It's possible that this civilization was more advanced than we think. They may have used tools and techniques that we haven't even discovered yet. This could explain how they were able to move such large stones and fit them together so precisely. Number 2, how were the stones moved? As we said before, the stones at Sacsayhuamán are incredibly heavy and difficult to work with. The largest ones weigh over 300 tons and are more than 9 feet tall. So how did the builders move them? No one knows for sure, but there are a few theories. One theory is that the stones were moved using a combination of levers and rollers. This is a pretty primitive method, but it's likely that the builders used whatever tools they had available to them. It would have taken a lot of manpower to move these stones, but it was likely done over a period of many years. Another theory is that the stones were moved using a system of ramps and inclined planes. This is a more sophisticated method, but it's still very doable with the right planning. The builders would have needed to construct a series of ramps leading up to a platform. The stones would then be rolled along these ramps and lifted into place using levers and rollers. This would have been a lot of work, but it would have been much easier than trying to move the stones directly up the hill. Regardless of how the stones were moved, it's clear that a lot of planning went into the construction of Sacsayhuamán. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment project. The builders knew exactly where each stone needed to go before they started moving them. This is evident from the precision with which the stones fit together. There's no mortar or cement holding them together. They're simply wedged so tightly that it's almost impossible to get a fingernail in between them. Even today, we can't figure out how the builders did this. It's possible that they used some sort of lubricant to help them slide the stones into place, or it's possible that they simply had a much stronger understanding of physics than we give them credit for. Whatever the case may be, it's clear that the builders of Sacsayhuamán were incredibly skilled engineers. Number 1, what were the walls used for? There are 3 main theories about what the walls were used for. The first is that they were built as a fortress to protect the local population from invaders. This makes sense considering the strategic location of the site. It sits high up on a ridge overlooking the valley below. From here you can see for miles in every direction. This would have given the builders a huge advantage in any battle. However, there's no evidence that the site was ever used as a fortress. There are no arrowheads or other weapons that have been found here. Plus, there are no signs of a siege or battle. It's possible that the walls were simply too far outside of town to have been effectively used as a defense. A second theory is that the walls were built as a ceremonial center. This is based on the fact that the site is located near other important religious and ceremonial centers. For example, the nearby temple of Coricancha was one of the most important religious sites in the Inca Empire. The builders of Sacsayhuamán may have chosen the site because of its proximity to these other sacred places. However, we don't know of any ceremonies that took place at the site or what they may have looked like. It's possible that the ceremonies were similar to other Inca rituals that we know about, such as the festivals honoring the sun god. The third theory is that the walls were simply a monumental building project designed to impress and intimidate visitors. This is based on the sheer size and scale of the structure. It would have been impressive to anyone who saw it, whether they were a member of the local population or an outsider. This would have been especially true if the builders were using advanced technology that the general public wasn't aware of. In this scenario, the walls wouldn't have had any particular use or function. They would have simply been built as a way of displaying the builders' power and knowledge. We may never know for sure what the walls were used for, but we can appreciate the mystery surrounding this place. It's one of the things that makes it so fascinating to explore. As you can imagine, scientists have put forth a lot of theories about how these structures were moved and built. With new technology and improved excavation techniques, we may learn more about this place soon, but until then, it's up to us to decide what we think happened here. Do you think the Inca built these walls, or were they constructed by an even older and more advanced civilization? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And while you're at it, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching.